from everyone and do that as much as possible. And then, and it's interesting because it's when you see like the kind of crews you had in college and those kind of connections, it's like, and then everyone just kind of leaves. And it's a very interesting, it's a very normal kind of Western phenomenon. It's like you go and then everyone goes on their separate ways. But it's when you kind of look at it from a bird's eye view, it's just like, why do we do that? Why do we want to not have more, connections where we're doing that, living together, doing things together? And certainly there are like cooperative housing and things like that. And so I think there are some movements to do more of those kind of things. But at least for me, I think certainly right afterwards, going from sort of being in this broader community and then, like going to grad school and Joel going to grad school and friends moving and everything, it just kind of, I think that for me that definitely had an impact on staying with it.
Yeah.
As much as, I didn't just, start eating meat or whatever.
Yeah, totally. I
Definitely
mean,
did not.
and as I know firsthand is that, grad school does not do wonders for your diet.
No, it doesn't.
I think I've been living on toast lately, so.
Yeah, definitely. And it was the same. And when I was in grad school, I moved in with a couple people who were nice and everything, but it was kind of like roommate type situations. They weren't into the same kind of music or lifestyle or whatever. Yeah. So it was even harder in that way because they ate meat and not to excuse it, but definitely that had an impact, and I just wasn't as on top of it. I don't remember, what was the first piece of cheese? I don't remember, the downfall was at Taco Bell or something.
Right.
I really don't remember, but, and I would be very, it's like we still, I'd still make, seitan from scratch, although I do it in a much easier way than I did back in the day.
Yeah.
And we eat a lot of, vegan stuff. We get soy milk and, this and that, but we're just not as, we're not. We get milk and we eat cheese and things like that. But I would be, if there was a cool, more community-oriented kind of living space that I found that had similar people who like similar things, and we're like, we want to do this vegan, and we're going to have a vegan kitchen or whatever, I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Sure.
No. So when you initially did go vegetarian and then vegan, though, do you feel like that was had anything to do with your involvement with the punk community?
Yes. Yeah, directly and indirectly. So indirectly was kind of like I was saying earlier, Joel and I were really involved in other kinds of political stuff. Like we were very interested in the anti-apartheid movement and kind of the bullshit that was going on in Central America, and with supporting these terrible regimes and then complaining about them, and now fighting them with the guns that we gave them in the 80s, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
And Reagan's Star Wars and all that kind of just craziness. So if we were, and we've actually, one of the big things we were involved with, there was this very famous protest in the Nevada desert on this nuclear weapons testing site that is on Native American land. I think it's the Shoshone Indians. And every year we would go out there, and there was just kind of like sort of a symbolic protest of trying to raise awareness around we're testing nuclear weapons, which is not so awesome for the earth and everything around it, and B, it's actually on land that other people have lived on much before many of us did, and they don't want it here, and no one really asked them, So there was this kind of symbolic protest that happened every year, and when you'd go out there and talk about these kind of issues, and I was also getting into a lot of gender stuff and women's studies and whatever, and then and again, and they were always, Food Not Bombs was there, and other organizations that just had vegan food, and that was just kind of a part of that culture. So that element was, I would say, sort of indirectly linked to punk, in that punk connected us to politics.
Okay.
So the music that we listened to I think gravitated more towards like the political punk bands. Not that we didn't like other stuff, but that was definitely
Right.
like where our heads were. So there was that connection, and then can you read me the question more explicitly? Just one more time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So was your decision to either to stop eating
be
meat?
vegetarian because
Yeah,
of punk?
yeah.
Okay. Yes, and then also so that was kind of like political punk bands got us to, well, didn't get us to, but had an influence on us learning about certain kinds of things, going to protests where vegan kind of food was available. So that was one element, and then definitely punk bands that sung about, about that stuff was also influential. I mean, one of my favorite bands then still is Rudimentary Peni,
Yeah.
who have a couple songs about being vegetarian, conflict, also The Meat is Murder.
Yes.
And just, or MDC, Chicken Squawk or whatever, just like hearing that stuff and just kind of going, so it definitely was part of the the sort of like those messages, and then sort of the food at these events, and then people who we respected and who were really like interested in the same things we were, I'd be like, dude, you're eating a burger? Like, what's up with that? I mean, so, it was all part of that, part of the whole culture, and it was just kind of like, we kind of need to do this,
Yeah.
And Joel and I just, talked about it, and we're like, we really should be vegetarian. Like, yep, okay, let's do it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we basically, for like 3 months, ate like pizza and bean burritos, I think, like every day.
Yeah, totally.
Thought, this isn't so good.
So these are kind of the next couple things I have for you are kind of like some wrap up type of questions.
Yeah, sure.
How does punk fit into your life today, or does it?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I listen to a lot of different kinds of music, but I still listen to punk. I tend to be kind of like annoyingly old school, so when people mention a lot of newer bands, I don't know them.
Yeah.
And then I, do the curmudgeon-y, like, this sucks, this isn't punk, that whole, I'm an old guy or whatever, so I tend to listen to more of the, like, 80s punk, or, late 70s, 80s punk. My brother and I have been playing more music together. He was actually in the band I was in, Desecration.
Yeah.
And we have been talking about doing some re-recording, reissuing of some of our classic hits, if you will. Not that we had hits, but
Yeah.
It'd be the same kind of thing like Soy Not Oi. Like, there'll be like a handful of people that'll be really psyched, and then a lot of other people will be like, "What the hell?
Yeah.
What is it?" So we've been talking about doing that. And I've been playing. A few years ago, I started learning how to play guitar, so I've been really into playing guitar and playing music that is very punk sounding at times. So, yeah. And actually going to shows occasionally. Yeah. So, I'm not nearly as involved as I was. I don't, but I've always been like total music nerd, and I would love to be more involved with stuff. So, I may be doing more and more stuff. Who knows? Totally open to it.
So you'd say that punk's influenced, kind of where you've ended up in your life, I guess. Do you think?
I would say it did. Yeah. I don't think it was like I was a certain way, I was exposed to punk, and then punk changed me. I think it was
Right.
more like I was a certain way, and punk acknowledged that the kind of way I was had a place, and then that influenced my other decisions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I think I was attracted to it because I was a certain kind of person, not like I was sort of like blank slate, went into punk, and punk made me X. I think I was a certain way, and certainly it gave me narratives and ideas and role models, and sort of, contributed to a certain path in a certain way, and absolutely had an influence for sure. And still does. I think, one of the most important influences is that some of the most wonderful people I met were through punk that I still know. 2 years ago,